Story 1. Clean-shaven with childlike features, they giggle from the midsection of their conspicuously large trench coat as they attempt to purchase alcohol. Story 2. When someone is overly competitive or petty, it makes me wonder what they think about me but do not say aloud. Story 3. They ask many personal questions under the pretense of getting to know you, but when asked about their personal lives, they are evasive. Story 4. They introduce themselves using a nickname, like saying, "Hi, I'm Boogie," instead of, "Hi, I'm Dave, but my friends call me Boogie. I don't know why, but that bothers me. I like nicknames. I go by one myself, but I don't introduce myself that way." Also, anyone who has made up their own nickname is a deal breaker, even if I've known you for years. If I suddenly find out you think Kip is a clever nickname, it's a problem. Story 5. People who display an extreme sense of moral devotion often engage in unethical behavior the majority of the time. Story 6. Many of these comments could be attributed to poor social skills or autism. However, something that I find unmistakably suspicious is when babies, animals, or mail carriers don't like you. I can't explain it, but if 2 out of 3 have issues, there may be something wrong. Story 7. Saying they're a nice person when I just met them makes me think they're trying to manipulate my perception of them before I have the chance to find out who they really are. I would describe myself as kind, but that's not something I need to project into the world because I know my actions will speak for themselves. Story 8. Walking or standing too close to me when we are strangers. Telling exaggerated stories about themselves without being prompted. Story 9. Going out of your way to appear honest and friendly can be a red flag. If you approach me and immediately and loudly express how you know I am a good and beautiful person, that you do not mean any trouble, and that you are always looking to help others and do the right thing, without even knowing who I am, then that is concerning. Why are you so eager to convince me that you are a good and trustworthy person? The same applies if I work with you and you go out of your way to be excessively nice and friendly, above and beyond what is normal. When I can tell that you are making an effort to come across as nice, it raises suspicion. Niceness should come naturally, and you should not have to overwhelm others to prove it. This is closely related to the concept of intuition and awareness of potential danger. Story 10. Hating dogs without any reason is difficult to understand. If someone was attacked as a child, it makes sense. However, disliking them without justification leads me to believe that character could be questionable. Story 11. If they always have a one-up story, no matter what you tell them happened to you, they immediately have a story that is slightly similar but a little better. Story 12. They lie about petty things. If they can't be honest about something low stakes, then how will they respond when you actually need them to be honest? Story 13. It's probably just me, but I never liked the question, "What do you do?" It always seemed like a way to categorize people. You might as well just ask if I have anything you can use. Story 14. Rudeness to someone's face is often excused with the phrase, "I just tell it like I see it," when confronted. Story 15. If I meet someone and they start trying to connect by speaking negatively about others, there are many things they can share about themselves that I don't know, but they choose to speak poorly of someone. Story 16. They are unwilling to admit when they are wrong. It's not a weakness to say that you misremembered something. It is unconvincing to try to string together faulty logic to explain how you are right. Story 17. I am trying to, you need to, cope. There are strange flags on that for me. Story 18. People who dislike or mistreat cats, as well as anyone who mistreats animals out of sheer cruelty, are concerning. This includes individuals with narcissistic traits, antisocial behavior, and a tendency to lie pathologically. Story 19. They act kind and considerate towards me. Most people are cordial at best, cold on average, and rude at worst. Anyone who is overly nice or borderline flirty is often trying to manipulate me in some way. They either tease me by giving me false hope, seek a favor, ask someone to buy them lunch, or try to get me to support their cause. However, it has never felt genuine. Story 20. When they seem wealthy, but when I take their belongings, they get annoyed. I thought you were financially well off, so just buy another house. Sus. Story 21. People I catch littering or not placing their shopping cart in the carousel. These people will eat you for food. Story 22. Anyone who directs all conversation to my partner and ignores me, regardless of how much I try to contribute. Story 23. If they are really into networking or say something like, "Oh, I know a lot of people," or "I have a lot of friends," I become wary of those individuals. More often than not, I find that at first glance they seem relaxed, but if you spend a lot of time around them, you'll notice that it's just a persona and that they are not genuinely nice. They are all talk but no action. Story 24. If they treat hospitality staff poorly, if children and animals dislike them, and if they speak negatively about others, they will speak negatively about you. Story 25. When they show up at your house right before an election and try to pretend he is not undermining the Constitution, and that their representative is the one you should vote for in the state Supreme Court. Or when they flood your state with postcards telling you to vote on April 11th, when the vote is actually on April 1st. Story 26. People who are overly excited and happy all the time can come across as insincere. Additionally, bringing up your political beliefs unprompted when we are not already good friends is a major red flag. I prefer to focus on building a happy friendship without discussing political affiliations. Story 27. When they portray themselves as a victim constantly, they seem to always have some form of life-altering drama occurring. Interestingly, this life-altering drama is conveniently never their fault. Story 28. People who base their entire personality on being an ally to a cause are likely hiding something. Story 29. People who say something shocking to gauge your reaction are often making a power move to see if you will respond similarly. Story 30. Colored contacts. Anecdotally, every person I have met who wears colored contacts regularly as a fashion choice has been unhinged. Every single one. Story 31. They tell me they are a good Christian at least 3 times in the first 5 minutes I've known them. Absolute scum. I am a Christian, but I don't announce it loudly. Story 32. Controversial, but there are people who don't like cats or dogs. I say this as someone who is allergic to both. I own 2 cats and 1 dog. I don't expect everyone to want to own a pet. However, if you outright hate cats because you perceive them as evil, that seems a bit suspicious. Story 33. I cannot tell you why, but if you ask whether we are hiring, I just assume you have stolen something from our store. Story 34. I dislike myself, so anyone who resembles me or has a similar gaze or demeanor is instantly suspicious. There is no one I trust less than myself. Story 35. When people discuss their achievements and how great they are, I often wonder why they feel the need to overcompensate. I believe it stems from insecurity, especially when they have not genuinely accomplished the things they claim. Story 36. Nowadays, any Trump supporter. You disapprove of America, and you desire to be controlled by Donald Trump. Story 37. If they can't say they support the LGBTQ+ community without hesitation, then there is a problem. Some people express indifference by saying, "I don't care either way." What does that mean? Do they not care about equality? Story 38. When a complete stranger approaches with their hand out for a handshake, it often does not go well. I have worked in public spaces frequently, and this situation has proven challenging. Story 39. A girl who only talks about how poorly men treat her and how many times she has been backstabbed or let down by friends and romantic interests. And if it's a guy, any guy who immediately talks about how important his career is. Story 40. Anyone who openly reminds me of my mother, I try to avoid. Additionally, anyone whose primary dialect of English is related to law, business, management, information technology, finance, or psychiatry, and who also shows no fluency in philosophy, art, theology, culture, religion, computer science, mathematics, psychology, street language, pharmacology, music, film, and so on. Story 41. An old war veteran with very short legs named Cotton told me how he was in Germany and Japan at the same time. Story 42. I had a friend who knew I wanted to stay away from drugs and alcohol. A few days later, as he offered me a cigar, he asked if I wanted to go to a bar later. Story 43. Saying they're brutally honest is just mean. You can choose to be compassionately honest instead. Story 44. They say rude things and end it with, haha, I just have no filter. No, Amanda, you're just unkind. Story 45. When men say, you don't have to be scared of me, or I'm not going to bite, and then laugh when you're a little shy, it seems obvious to me that I should be cautious at first, especially when they are still a stranger. Story 46. When they are very vocal about their honesty or loyalty, the more they brag about it, the less I believe them. Story 47. Someone is trying to get you to blindly agree with them or do something without giving you a chance to think or speak. Story 48. They talk about how they always try to be honest. I am not sure if they think they are fooling me or if they have simply fooled themselves. Story 49. They ask about your birthday shortly after meeting you. I don't understand why you dislike me for my moon sign when you have your own issues. Story 50. Treating children, elders, or animals with any type of disrespect is unacceptable. At that point, I cannot tolerate it. I might even take your dog months later because you were unkind to it. Story 51. When people tell me stories where they are always the hero and there is a long line of people having meltdowns around them, it makes me wonder if they are leaving out details of the stories, such as what they did to contribute to those extreme reactions. Story 52. This is a specific example, but there was a woman I knew who said she didn't want to take her child to school because she was worried they would be investigated over her black eye. Children fall and get bruises or cuts. Sometimes their siblings get too rough, and sometimes pets get rough as well. Her reaction definitely made me suspicious of her and her husband, who instantly jumps to that conclusion. I remember another example where a man on our street acted like he didn't take our package. It was a birthday present my husband had delivered to their house by mistake. Then he kept asking me about it whenever I saw him. I never even spoke to him before that. I strongly believe he took it. Story 53. When they have a proposal, they add, don't tell anyone about it, especially if it is a poor proposal. Story 54. When they change or add details to a story that differ from the original to elicit a different response. Story 55. If someone appears overly eager to sell me an idea and seems skilled at applying pressure, I cannot believe they are a good person despite anything else I may learn about them. Story 56. Instant best friend, also known as love bombing. It took me too long to realize this is a red flag and it will always turn toxic. Story 57. Having an ego. I feel that people who talk constantly about their skills are trying to convince you they are good at something, rather than genuinely striving to be proficient in it. Story 58. It's hard to describe, but when someone tries to be overly nice and makes a point of ensuring that everyone knows they are all about kindness and community, they often become upset when you fail to recognize their efforts. This behavior makes me think they are insincere. Story 59. When they don't like animals, animals don't like them. I'm very suspicious of people who hate cats because cats have their own minds. Story 60. I guess I am the suspicious person based on half of the comments. Is it really that bad being friendly or talkative? Before I overthink it, I will focus on the question. I am usually suspicious of people who tell me things like, I have never told anyone this before, or when they brag about themselves constantly. It is great to be proud of your accomplishments, and I would be honored to celebrate them with you. However, I do not appreciate it when people do it all the time. It feels like they only want me to be their fan or stroke their ego. Story 61. Summarizing several replies, anyone who makes a definitive statement about their personality or labels themselves often expresses an aspiration or provides an excuse rather than revealing an objective truth. It's better to demonstrate one's traits than to declare them. I am unique and unconventional. I am kind and straightforward. I can be sarcastic. My astrological sign influences my behavior. I am empathetic. Story 62. This is somewhat niche. I'm an associate accountant, and it bothers me when I am assigned a client who is caring for a parent and constantly refers to them as mom instead of my mom. I'm not saying that everyone who refers to their parent this way eventually receives large sums of money and gifts from that parent, but it often seems to be the case. Story 63. When they tell you about how they are a good, kind, and nice person, it is usually the opposite. Story 64. complimenting me at the grocery store or something similar. I just came from the gym in my sweaty clothes to grab a bag of rice cakes. There is nothing about me worthy of a compliment at the self-checkout line at 8:30 on a Tuesday night. Story 65. People who have no longtime friends or personal connections sometimes signal that they may be the issue if they cannot maintain any relationships. Story 66. When they are wearing a badge or their vehicle has a cage blocking the front from the back, it is a clear indication. Story 67. If he doesn't have any old friends, you can't keep everybody. But if you keep no one, something is wrong with you. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.